AskReddit by Few Finish 6502. What is something you deeply regret doing as a child that still affects you to this day? Being so mean to my younger sister in our childhood. I often wonder how much I contributed to her current mental health struggles. It eats me alive some days. As a younger sister of a very mean one, do tell her. Minded in our 30s, and I cried my eyes out of relief, because the child inside you, even though adult you knows better, still feels like there is something wrong with him/her in order to deserve that. And yes, serious damage can be done. It's not easy growing up being hurt by someone who is supposed to protect you. I forgave her, and although at least in our case something is broken forever, we have now the chance to be as close as we can in this new circumstances. I wish the best for your sister and you. And remember that it wasn't your sole responsibility. The adult around should have interfered or taught you better, helped you open your eyes sooner. Main reason I forgave my sister is because she was 7 years older than me but quite young too. And even though I got the worst part of it, I know it hurt her too. In middle school I jumped from the top of a slide and landed flat on the bottom, hurting my back. Pretty sure I've never recovered. That's weird. I believe I can pinpoint the start of my lifelong back pain issues to when I was young and pretending I was the Hulk and tried to lift something way too heavy for me to do so. I recall feeling something give in my lower back, and here I am at 50 plus years of age with a nice back on the same spot, talking about it on the internet. Might be a coincidence, maybe not. Falling into the trap of if I don't ask for too much maybe I can get what I need. Including, if I tell people what I want, they'll say no to spite me, but if I don't let them know, they might give it to me unthinkingly. When I was 13 or 14, I saw one of my lifelong friends walking down the street, blank stare with her makeup running. I was on my bicycle racing to get home before my 8 PM curfew, so I didn't stop to talk to her. She committed suicide that night, and I was the last person to see her alive. I went through intense therapy after that, as I was filled with guilt and grief. I still have issues with that guilt today, some 21 years later. When I was a senior in high school, I went to see Revenge of the Sith with my best friend the weekend it released. The following Wednesday, while we were leaving class he asked me if I wanted to go again the coming weekend. Told him I wasn't able to because I already had some plans. He walked out of school, went home, and committed suicide. And X200B. Will never stop blaming myself. I've never told anyone. I still visit his parents every year around the date. Next Thursday. After every Thanksgiving dinner as a child my grandpa would put a plate of food together for a man named Mr. Bailey who lived by himself and didn't have family in town. He'd drive over to his house, drop the food off, talk for 5-10 minutes, and then come back. I didn't know this. One year after our meal my grandpa handed me a plate with a slice of pumpkin pie on it and told me to get in the back seat of his truck. I didn't ask questions and hopped in with the pie. We get to our destination and my grandpa opens my door and says, "You have the pie?" "What do you mean, grandpa? I ate it." I thought the pie was for me. I ate it in the back seat on the car ride like it was a brownie. Mr. Bailey didn't get any pumpkin pie that year. I still can't look at pumpkin pie without feeling bad about it. I mean that's kinda on grandpa for not explaining the situation. I totally would have gobbled it down too. I took everything to heart. All the insults, all the failures, all the minor mishaps. I couldn't just let it pass me by. It hit me right in the heart, which is why my current mental health leaves a lot to be desired. Talk to a psychologist. High sensitivity is a known thing, and learning about it can help you see your childhood in a different light. Giving my knees floor burn for fun. I don't have a clue why I thought it was fun. Now they are in an awful state and completely covered in scars. We don't have a clue why she thought it was fun either. Hernies. When I was 12, my mom got drunk one night and told me to drink with her. She was pretty aggressive about it and I was too intimidated to say no since I had a habit of agreeing to almost anything. I started drinking and she'd regularly supply me with alcohol so she could have a drinking partner. I struggled with alcoholism for over 15 years. I've been sober for over 4 now, but all of my teen years and most of my 20s were absolutely lost. Wish I had been more brave and not taken that first drink. Edit. Wow, I wasn't expecting so many replies. Just want to say thank you to everyone who shared their own experience and offered their sympathies. I'm sorry some of you also had a similar experience. Addiction can feel impossible to escape. To anyone who's overcome their own struggles with alcoholism, I'm so proud of you, and I hope you are too. You were a child. Shame on her. I'm sorry that happened to you. Not sleeping in my dying father's bed with him. He asked me to because he didn't want to be alone. I was 18 at the time and wasn't not prepared for all this. Until the day I die I will never forgive myself. Reality takes form for us at various different ages. You being 18 shows that you were emotional enough to realize it's a lot for you. Now that you're older you feel that you could handle it tenfold. I feel for you. He's your father and loved you. I'm certain he understood. Deleted. One time when my family was camping and I was maybe 8 years old, I found a bunch of jellyfish in a puddle next to the ocean. They must have been carried there by the waves or something. The puddle was pretty big and almost connected to the ocean, but the poor things were trapped there. I climbed onto a big rock in the middle of the puddle and leaned down as far as I could to reach them. Once I'd gotten a hold of a jellyfish, I quickly stood up on the rock and jumped back to the land with a jellyfish in my hand. Then I released it into the ocean. I repeated this process several times to get as many jellyfish out as I could, and tried to do it as quickly and gently as I could. As I did it, I kept reassuring them it's okay, I've come to save you. You'll be free again really soon. You're safe with me. But eventually, one of the jellyfish slipped out of my hands as I jumped off the rock, and instantly shattered into a glibbery mess when it hit the ground. In my entire 8-year-old life, I had never felt as guilty as I did in that moment. I thought I was saving it. Deleted. Sounds like something a serial killer would say. I was an only child to a single father who was diagnosed with brain tumors when I was 12. I watched him degrade and die over a 6-month period. About 4-5 months after my father was diagnosed, he became so ill that he couldn't even remember my name. I remember how horrible I felt. A couple days later I stole my father's credit card and car and went on a spending spree. I remember buying a bunch of new DVDs, a puppy, food, etc. and ignoring my life the whole time. When my father died a month or two later I found out that his bank account was drained and that the payments on the house didn't go through, so my stepmother lost me and our home and I spent 5 years in the system. I lived with the guilt and shame for 15 years until I made an effort one day to contact my stepmother for old time's sake. We never had a good relationship and it just got worse when my father died because of all the stress, loss, etc. I told her the story and she laughed. She told me that what I stole was so insignificant that they didn't even know for some time. My uncle, my father's brother, was the one who stole all the money. I only took a couple $100. Throughout the years I never knew and even my uncle let me live with the pain even though he knew because I confessed to him when I was a boy and upset. Even though what I stole was so little, the regret and shame is so much bigger. I still live with it to this day. I hate her Uncle Omf. Deleted. You shouldn't regret this. You didn't have thicker skin or the ability to stick up for yourself because you lacked the experiences that have led you to become who you are today. Past you did the best you could with the life skills you had available to you at the time. When I was 4 years, the husband of my aunt died. Very soon after his death, the whole family was gathered around in the living room, me sitting across her. I wanted to make her feel better and said, Don't worry, you will find a new Matty you will love. The hurt and surprised face of her haunts me even today. I understood I did something wrong but not really what at that moment. We are on good terms and she is living a good life now. She very likely forgot what I told her that day. I'm probably the only one remembering that conversation. You were 4. I don't think anyone can really hold that against you. One time when I was 6-7 I rode on a 4-wheeler with my older sister. We hit a dip in my grandparents' pasture. My sister fell off and she went under the rear tire. She needed immediate surgery. My grandmother still blames me for it and it has affected me deeply. For years I listened to how my sister almost died due to my negligence. Deleted. Stop exercising any kind of working out because I was told my movement is awkward. Tried to shrink myself because I was a tall girl that stands out of other kids, which ruined my posture. Now I have a very bad scoliosis that causes mild but chronic back pain. It's very visible as my waist is not symmetrical. Might have to go under a big surgery, putting braces to my spine, in the next 3-4 years. Edit. Thank you. I didn't know scoliosis is purely caused by genetics. I had that complete spinal fusion surgery. My spine basically looked like an S before. It's a tough recovery time but now I'm completely pain-free and active. In I believe 2nd grade, a friend of mine and I were really mean to another kid with some type of mental challenge. It wasn't something we did more than this one instance, so I'd if I'd call it consistent bullying, but him and I said some nasty things to him on the last day of school. I should have known better and regret it to this day. I have seen his profile pop up on social media, and I do occasionally get the desire to reach out and apologize, but I'm not sure it would be worth it so far in the future. Nonetheless, I really wish I could talk some sense into myself back then. The boy didn't deserve that. Nobody would have. I was always a chubby kid, but never self-conscious about it until a school-sponsored pool party where a boy in the changing room loudly claimed it looks like he has boobs. I believe this was in maybe 6th grade. Makes me ashamed of my body even to this day, 20 plus years later, even though I'm basically at or only slightly elevated BMI now. It wouldn't solve my self-image issues, but if that dude reached out to me and apologized I would be so happy. Just the opportunity to say that hurt, but I forgive you to him would feel so good. My senior year of high school there was a classmate that sat by himself at lunch every single day. I often thought about going to sit with him and never did. My heart still hurts from never doing it and that was 20 years ago. I can't find him on social media or anything. I truly hope he is out there living his absolute best life. I was the lone kid at lunch. My dad made me transfer schools. I already had experienced a lot of trauma and had several mental health issues. I later found out kids thought I was going to shoot up the school. I was just so sad and lonely. One day someone came and talked to me. It turned out we had a lot in common. We never became super best friends but it really improved my world. Lost touch and found out he died shortly after high school. Never found out why. I told his parents on social media how much of a good person he was to me. I only met his dad once when he gave me a ride home from school and he was so nice. They made me feel normal again for a while. Sorry you're gone Sam but I'm still here because of you. Spending time of sites like Leverleak and Rotten while in elementary school. Sitting at home all day during high school. Not studying while in school and struggling with building discipline today. Sounds a lot like me. Turns out, ADHD, dominantly the inattentive type, despite being more than capable. Same issues today, but now I have meds and bursts of last-minute motivation to get work done. Not well, but averagely. Still pretty bad. But, better. Not applying myself more in my studying in high school. On the reverse side, I feel like I have all I had in HS. Got straight A's the whole time. By the time I attempted college I was just over it. Plus I watched the kids who got C's get the exact same treatment in the end. Not only did I just stop putting even half my effort into things, but I also realized all those base course classes didn't teach me anything about what I might want to do in life. I always had a job, but I can't say I've ever loved any job I've had, including my current career. It's made for a very unfulfilling work life, and I wish I'd spent more time figuring out things I like doing instead of taking AP classes for skills I no longer need use. Deleted. I'm sorry, mate. The hardest thing is realizing you became what you hate, and it's scarily easy to become it. Not going on with my education or getting into a career. I have cystic fibrosis. I genuinely didn't think I'd live long enough, so why waste time and money? Now I'm 42 thanks to science. Sheesh. Damn medicine. We were only supposed to live till 40. Now thanks to science I'm forced to live till I'm 100 and hooked up into machines to live. Not going to the vet with my dad when he had to put my dog down. She had heartworm in the time before treatments. I was 10 or 11, and instead of going to be with her in her last moments I cried in bed. I feel so bad for it even decades later. I've been sure to be with every pet in their last moments since. I feel this. I was so young I couldn't handle the grief, process it. Maybe I saved myself from a worse feeling in the immediate moment, but God, I wish I could have been there for them in those last moments. I missed 3 pets. The first when I was 8, the second when I was 9, and the third when I was 11. At 17, being more stable with those emotions, I made sure I was there with the 4th, and will continue to be there for the others, no matter how much it hurts. Rather than being parented, I was making life decisions at 6 years old. I said no to going to a gifted school so I would not leave my friends in 1st grade. I have not seen or spoken to a single one of these friends in over 40 years. Deleted. I called one of my mom's ex-boyfriends poor and ugly when I was 9. He didn't deserve it at all. I was just fucking mean. He always drove us around in an old Bronco and I hated it. Now that I'm older I realize his car was so badass and he loved it. He only wore raggedy clothes because that was his style, and he loved himself some ripped jeans and skater shoes and to be covered in tats. I always remember him now as an adult as one of the coolest people I've ever met. He was nothing but nice to me and I was a fucking little asshole. I wish I knew where he was so I could apologize for being a little shit, and I hope he's happy living his best life. Cross country. Goofed off with friends during warm-ups. Ankle and calf got caught while I was in a dead sprint. Loud snapping noise as my knee went. Healed okay-ish. Was able to get back to running a year or 2 afterwards, but it's deteriorated over the years. Early 20s now and I have to use a cane to get around. Can't go running anymore. Can't go hiking anymore. Stairs take a lot of effort, too many flights, and I struggle to walk even with a cane. Some nights I have a hard time falling asleep because it aches so bad. Take care of your knees, y'all. You don't know what you'd be missing. I'm sorry to hear that. Have you heard of Nisavatos? His program has helped a lot of people with debilitating injuries recover their knees. While I did not have as severe knee issues, I have experienced great relief. Contributing to a kid in my 4th grade class getting bullied. I wasn't the most direct bully, but I didn't do anything to stop it either. Man, this is the exact comment I was looking for. This kid Michael Wren transferred to my school in the middle of the year in 4th grade. He was a foster kid, so he didn't have the nicest clothes or shoes. He had it pretty rough. We used to line up outside of our classrooms before class started, and I remember this one time. I forgot the reason for the altercation, but he got close to me and I kinda slammed to the ground and yelled, "Don't touch me." Whatever the reason was, he absolutely did not deserve that treatment. I was never a bully, and even helped people that needed help. To this day I wish I could find him and just apologize. It makes me tear up thinking about it. He must have already had it hard at home and it shouldn't have been tough at school for him. This is the one thing about my childhood I despise and would slap the shit out of my younger self if I could. If my mom knew at the tea. If you're reading this, I'm very sorry and you deserve better. My parents divorced when I was 4. Both got remarried when I was 7/8. My mum and stepdad were all about school homework and practice tests for school exams and routine and being strict. Basically being parents. My dad, however, gave me and my brother loads of sweets and crisps, let us stay up late and watch scary movies and never did homework. At my dad's pushing, I would go home and say things like, I wished I lived with my dad instead. I wish I didn't live here and I want to go back, and smack myself for how awful I made my mum feel. I didn't find out until I was a teenager that my dad had an affair, gambled away his pay every week and hid my mum when she was pregnant. Even knowing